Welcome to the English class. Yeah, we are live. So I hope we have no problem with the connection. I hope there's no problem with the internet and with the technology, the computer. I hope there's no problem. I have a dog also, so sometimes he is noisy, and hopefully that's not a disruption as well. I have the captions, the subtitles on the video. So again, I hope you can understand me perfect. It's difficult to understand people in English, so I really hope that in the class you can understand me, because people have different levels and there's lots of people with no English, and I really want to try and help people with all levels. So fingers crossed that you understand me. And here is the first page and first introduction. It's an apology if you do not understand me. So if you cannot understand me now, you can read the text in your language and you can realize that it's difficult, because the class is difficult, but I want to try and help. I think today we have people from Indonesia, Vietnam, Thailand, Romania, France, Spain, Peru, maybe other places. So in the comments, if you want to write your location and to say hello, that's a good idea. And at the moment I cannot see the comments, but later I can reply and everybody can see the position as well, the location. Yesterday I was watching the class and he sent me a picture of the class, and for me that was fantastic. So this picture is from Madrid, and if you want to do the same, if you want to take a picture of your location where you're watching the class, that would be amazing and very, very interesting. So for me that was a fantastic picture yesterday in Madrid. So the classes are free. I'm very, very happy to try and help everybody at the moment, because the situation with the pandemic, lots of people have lost their jobs, people are at home, and it's a good opportunity maybe to practice English and to study, and maybe to help for your career, for your academics, for your study. For me it's a good opportunity as well. It's free, and especially for people who cannot afford classes, it's a good opportunity. But if you want to support me at the end, if you want to make a little donation or contribution, that's possible. Here's the information. It's an option. There's PayPal, and there's in Spain Bizum of a tip for €1 or €2. And with the phone, it's possible as well with PayPal, just to scan that. It's an option. It's not necessary, but it would help in the future, because I would like to continue working this way. Here I have the social media. So Instagram is my account, Twitter is my account, and YouTube. I have the same content in all the channels if you want to follow me there. Okay, so fantastic. So I will close the information and this also. And first I want to show you a document. So every morning we have the same document, and this is very important, particularly for the new people. This document is the introduction to the concepts and the technical vocabulary in English, and I want to really explain the technical vocabulary, because during the class I speak about substantive, adjective, adverb, modal verb, preposition, phrasal verbs, idioms. That technical vocabulary is necessary to explain at the beginning. Okay, so this is an explanation. For other people who are familiar with this document, you have two options. You can go and make a cup of tea or a cup of coffee and relax for 5 minutes, or you can watch again and try to refresh, because it's very important every day to remember the structure of the language. Okay. In other languages, in Indonesian, in Thai, in Vietnamese, in Spanish, in Italian, I don't know exactly the difference, but this is English. For example, there's 3 sections, so I will make this picture smaller. There are 3 sections: use of English, the different tenses and the different times, and the grammar. Okay, and the first section for me is probably the most important to grow and to be more advanced. Okay, we have accents. In Dublin there is an accent, maybe a particular accent. In Ireland we have an accent. In England there is an accent. So every location that speaks English, you have an accent. And that is very difficult and very challenging to really understand people with different accents. Okay. And when you travel, when you work, you meet people from lots of different places. In the movies, in the television, you have lots of different exposure to different accents. So it is very important. The next concept is maybe the most important concept to really learn English really well. So in English we have the concept of phrasal verbs, and the phrasal verb basically is a verb with a preposition, and it's possible literal significance and possible second double significance, okay? And one example is the verb to come. In Espanol it's venir, come, and across is the preposition. That's literal, so come across the street is number one. But number two is to find. So if you look in your room and you're cleaning your room and you come across a book, that means that you find unexpectedly, like a surprise, to come across. And that's a very good example of a phrasal verb, okay? It's double meaning with a different significance. The next example are idioms, and like expressions, very familiar expressions with conversation, with family, with friends, very informal, very comfortable and very fluent. And I think most languages, most people have expressions in the language, okay? So it's very, very important. And one example is a taste of your own medicine. So if you behave in a certain way and you don't want the same behavior to you, it's possible to say you receive a taste of your own medicine. So I think you understand that concept, because I think every language has the same idea, okay? And then pronunciation is very important, and this list is particularly for Spanish speakers probably. For example, yellow, the double L and the Y, the yellow jacket, the J, SH, cash, the G, register, jet, engine, fragile, jealousy, yearly, chicken and kitchen, okay? Conversation is very important. When you're learning English and you want to improve, I think it's very important to practice speaking, okay? And I want to help a little with the speaking, and it's possible, but today we will look maybe at vocabulary and grammar. But here is my Skype. So here you can see my Skype name at the bottom, Ad Meliora. Okay, at the bottom here you can see the name. So my idea, maybe at the end of the class, I can connect with somebody. So if you are at home and you want to practice speaking a little with me today during the class for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, at the end you can connect with Skype, and at the end I will try to select one person and we can have a little conversation or about typical questions, okay? I don't know if it will work with the volume, because with the computer, but we can try, and in the future I hope to do that, okay? So that's an idea for today. There is the name at the bottom, Ad Meliora 1, and if you want to connect we can see if it's possible at the end, okay? But conversation is very important, and speaking is very important to practice and to improve in English. The next section are the tenses, very important. So the time when you speak, is it the present, is it the past, is it the future? And I want to explain a few basic concepts. So the simple is the present simple, one action in the moment in the present. For example, I drink. The past is one action in the past that's completed, the past simple, I drank. So regular, the drink, and the regular verb in the infinitive, and the regular finish is ed. Normally the regular is ed in the past, but we have a lot of irregular verbs. For example, drink, drank, and the participle is drunk, okay? And the future, I will drink. So present simple, past simple, future simple, okay? The continuous, we have the concept of the continuous in the present, the action that you are continuing to do in the moment. I am drinking, I am eating, I am going, okay? The past, I was eating, I was drinking, and the construction is the subject, the extra verb to be, and the gerund, okay? The gerund is the ing. So eating, drinking, going. I was eating, that's the continuous. And the future continuous is the same. I will be eating. Subject, verb to be, and the gerund, okay? So that's the concept of the continuous. We also have the concept of the perfect. So we have the present perfect, which is a period of time that started in the past, it's finished, but the consequence is related to the present. And the construction of the present perfect is the subject, the extra verb have, and the participle, okay? I have eaten my breakfast. It started in the past and it's finished, but its consequences and it's relevant to the present because now I am not hungry, okay? That's the present perfect. I have eaten, I have gone, I have met. Then the past perfect, is a period in the past that's usually before is an action in the past simple. So the construction is the subject, the extra verb have in the past, I had, and then the participle. I had eaten my dinner when my friend contacted me. So usually it's followed by the past simple. And that's the rule or the little secret with the past perfect. Okay, it's possible the future perfect as well, a little more advanced. I will have eaten, I will have gone. That's the future perfect. Okay, so they are the most important concepts. Also we have the conditional in English, and here is the little section, the conditional. So basically the conditional is very heavy with the theory, but in reality it's more flexible and more fluid. So it's related to if. For example, today, if it rains, I will go to the centre. If I won the lottery yesterday, I would have bought a house. That's more complicated. So there's different levels of the conditional, and I recommend to study the theory of the conditional, and I will help maybe in the future about the conditional. Okay? The concept of the infinitive is very important as well, because during the class I speak about the infinitive frequently, and the concept of the infinitive is the base of the verb. For example, to eat, to go, to drink, to have. Okay, in Espanol is para beber, para tener, para comer. Okay, so the infinitive in English is to, and here's the example, to here. Then we have the concept of the active and the passive. So the active and the passive is a very simple structure, but very impressive as well. And I think other languages have the same concept. Basically, the active is the subject, the verb, and the object. And the passive, you change the positions. It's the object, extra verb to be, plus the subject. Okay, here's an example. The man kicked the ball. Okay, the verb to kick. The man kicked the ball. Past simple. Subject, past simple. Object, active. And then the passive, the ball, extra verb to be in the past, because kicked. The ball was participle, kicked by me. Object, okay? And subject, change. That's an example of the passive. In Spanish, you have the same concept. In other languages, I'm not sure. So if you want to confirm with a comment in the video, you can tell me. If you have any questions with the grammar or any ideas, you can make a comment in the Facebook page as well. And yeah, so let's continue. That's the concept of the tenses, the different times. The final section for me that is important is the concept, obviously, of grammar and the different parts of grammar. For example, substantive and noun is a person, a place, or a thing is a substantive. My hat, my cat, my house, the car, substantivos, okay? In English, that's a noun or a substantive. For every noun, we have an article. For example, a cat or the cat. And there's two possibilities, indefinite article or definite article. And here you can see the two. Here is the article. The indefinite article is a, and the definite article is the. We have one rule: when the noun begins with the vowel, it's necessary an. Okay, an apple. That's the necessary rule when the word begins with a vowel. Okay. The concept of the substantive, it's possible countable and uncountable. So an apple, yes, it's a substantive. Is it possible to count one apple, two apples? Yes, three apples. So an apple is countable. Water, is it possible to count water? One water, two waters, three waters? No. Chocolate, one chocolate? No. We say one bottle of water, one glass of water, one piece of chocolate. So water and chocolate are uncountable. And this is important in relation to how much and how many. Okay, and you can see here in the text how much and how many. So how much is related to uncountable. How much water, how much chocolate, how much money. That's the rule with uncountable, how much. And with countable, it's many. How many hands, how many bottles, how many glasses. Okay, so that's the big rule and secret with countable and uncountable. A lot is possible with the two. A lot of chocolate, a lot of water, a lot of hands, a lot of books, a lot of bottles. Okay. The adjective describes the substantive, and the position in English of the adjective is before the substantive. Red hat, big house. In Spanish, the position is different. In other languages, I'm not sure. So you need to consider your own language. But in English, the adjective generally is before the substantive to describe. We also have the comparative with the adjective and the superlative. Okay, and this concept is very important. For example, happy, happier, the happiest. Tired, tireder, tiredest. Okay, hungry, hungrier, hungriest. That's the comparative and the superlative. It depends on the syllable. Generally, if the word has one syllable, it's ER and EST if it's one syllable. But the word is, for example, incredible, more than one syllable. We say more incredible, most incredible. That's the general rule with the comparative, and it's just important to remember for the concept. The adverb is the verb. The adverb describes the verb. In Spanish, it's mente, rápidamente, lentamente, suavemente. Okay, in Espanol, and in English, it's ly, quickly, slowly, rapidly, and that's the suffix. The concept of the suffico, the suffix, is ly for the adverb, and the adverb describes the verb. Run quickly, talk slowly. Okay, so it's connected to the verb, adverb. Finally, also modal verbs. In English, we have a lot of modal verbs, and they're so common and so flexible and so important. Can is related to ability and permission. I can meet my friend. It's my ability. It's also permission. At the moment, I cannot meet my friend because of the restrictions. Okay, could, may, and might are for possibility. Okay, and also questions. So, could I go to the cinema? Is a question, number one. But the second possibility is, I could go to the cinema. It's an option. It's a possibility. I may go to the cinema. It's an option and a possibility. Or I might go to the cinema. It's an option or a possibility. They're practically the same. The difference probably is may and might is a little more formal and a little more polite. Just a little. Okay. Shall is also formal, and it's maybe less frequent, but it's necessary to understand also. It's similar to should. Shall we go to the cinema is will we go to the cinema, should we go to the cinema. Okay. Should is basically for advice and recommendation. So if you want to give advice to your friend, if you want to recommend to your friend, the typical verb is should. You should go to the shop. You should speak with your friend. You should do the exercise. Okay, so it's recommendation or advice. Ought to, pronunciation is a little difficult, but it is formal and it's very polite and it's good English. You ought to go to the shop. Again, it's recommendation and advice. Very similar to should. Okay? Must is different. Must is obligation. You have no choice. It's an obligation. You must improve. You must speak with your friend. It's an obligation. You have to. It's possible in English. Have to and must. Okay? And they're the most important modal verbs. The basic rule after the modal verb, we have the next verb in the infinitive, but we eliminate to, always. So, for example, must go. That's correct. We eliminate to. So the error, must to go, is the error. Can to have, that's the error. The correct is can have, must go. So we eliminate to. Okay? That's very important, and almost always it's the case. Okay? Prepositions. So in English, I think we have maybe 150 prepositions. We have so many prepositions, and basically it's related to position and location and movement. Okay, so I speak to you, direction, movement. Okay, I look at the bottle, at, so it's movement and direction. In, at, on, beside, over, under, behind, in front of. We have across. We have so many phrasal verbs, but really they're very important in relation to movement, and also the concept of phrasal verbs. They're very important for phrasal verbs, and they're usually connected with emotion. Up is usually happy, positive, creation, that's up. Down is usually negative, sad, destroy. So there is a big emotional connection with the movement of the preposition. Okay, very important. And just one or two more, and that's just the introduction for today. So the difference between my hat, your hat, his hat, but the hat is mine. So the difference between the possessive object and the possessive subject, the pronouns, and this is a big area as well. So this is a big confusion in English. So I recommend yourself that you take time to study and to review the subject pronoun, the object pronoun, the possessive pronoun, and that's a big area for sure. Another important difference is the difference between this, that, these and those. Okay, so maybe you know already, but just to review, this is singular here, this cat. That is singular, away, that cat. Okay, plural is these cats here, and plural away is those cats there. So it depends on the position, and it depends on singularity or plural. Okay, this, that, these and those, very, very important for sure. A little secret here is the difference between another and other. So another is basically for singular, another day, another week, another year, and other is basically for plural, other days, other weeks, other years. Okay, very good. How to construct the question is very important in English, and also the concept of suffixes and prefixes is a big area in English for sure. For example, if the suffix is ance, usually it's a substantivo. The importance, for example, when the suffix is ize, usually it's a verb, realize. Okay, that's another example. Able is an adjective. Ly usually is an adverb. And then we have maybe the negative forms, and pre is before. That's a very interesting area when you're studying English, to try to identify the prefix and the suffix. It will help you a lot. Okay? And linkers, okay? However, furthermore, although, very important area for cohesion and to connect. And basically, that's the introduction. Also, writing is a completely different skill, and two people spoke to me yesterday about suggesting advice for writing, and I will for sure definitely help about improving writing. And if you want to write something for me, an essay, or if you want to write a question, or anything you want, you write and you can send to me and I can correct, and if you give me the permission, I can make it on the video, I can introduce the writing in the class. For me that would be perfect, and it would help a lot. Okay, exam preparation as well, the Cambridge exams, the IELTS exams, and during the classes it's a good idea maybe to practice some exercises together. This was my idea maybe for today, but finally no, maybe next week we can do some exercises from the Cambridge exams. Okay, super. So that's the introduction, and at the bottom this is the location for the website for the grammar, in my opinion, that are probably the best. You have the British Council website for grammar, and you have the Cambridge Grammar website. For me, they're so good and so clear, and the content is more or less the same. Okay, so I'll close this, and just if the computer works, it's a little slow, I think, I'll save it. And now I want to move to an article. Okay, so this is the same article from yesterday, it's the same article from last week, and every day we continue a little. It's from the New York Times, and it's a story about 36 hours in Dublin. It's a review of a trip, a review of somebody who visited Dublin and spent 36 hours in Dublin, and it has very good vocabulary and it's very interesting. So here's a little picture of Dublin, and this is the date. It was before the pandemic, before the crisis, when people could travel very comfortably and freely, and this is the journalist who wrote the article. Okay, so yesterday we finished on Friday. This is the map, okay, Dublin, the map of Dublin, different places. Friday 3 o'clock, that's the recommendation. Friday at 5 o'clock. So yesterday, this is the paragraph we completed yesterday, and today we move to the next one. Okay, so this is the city centre, and it's quite close, very close to my home. That's the financial buildings, and it's a very nice city. Okay, so the recommendation on Friday at 7 p.m. for the review, they have cocktails by the green. So this is about the bar and vocabulary from a restaurant or a bar. Okay, and first I will read the text for pronunciation, and after I will analyze the vocabulary and the key points, because here I have the key vocabulary. Okay, so first I'm going to go to the article and I will read for pronunciation. In the green heart of the city's south side, lively no, sorry, I think we did this yesterday. Yeah, that's the one we did yesterday, so we move to the next paragraph. Sorry. 9 p.m. the restaurant in the cuisine. Okay, so new Irish cuisine. The pronunciation is a bit difficult, cuisine. And book ahead for dinner at Clanbrassil House, where the chef, Grania, so that's a very Irish name, Grania O'Keefe, brings a new approach to old ideas in dishes like Killary Fjord mussels from the west of Ireland, bathed in a spicy XO broth and smoked trout layered onto charred sourdough. So extremely particular vocabulary, a little difficult vocabulary, but very, very specific for restaurants and for the industry. So don't worry, it's difficult vocabulary in this sentence. And topped with pickled cabbage. Okay, this small restaurant opened in 2018 and serves some of the most innovative plates in Dublin. Sausage made in house from pork cheeks, marmalade ice cream and hash browns, fries with an onion mayonnaise. Interesting, Eurocentric wines are served by the glass, and the family style option, in which the kitchen sends out a range of small plates, starters, mains and desserts, is a fun way to snack around the tempting menu. Okay, interesting. Again, some of the vocabulary is very particular for food, but I want to show you the grammar in particular. So here is the text, and the first expression is to book. Okay, so the verb to book is like to reserve, and in Spanish it's reservar, and in English we say to book or to reserve. And it's possible hotel, it's possible restaurant, it's possible flight, and in English we say the verb to book. Okay, and I'll make that a little bit bigger so you can see. And really it's from the book. You have the book, and in the old days, in the past, the hotel organized the orders by the book. So you contact the hotel and they put your name in the book. That's the significance, that's the reason we say to book. Okay, to book a hotel, to book a restaurant. And here's a preposition, book ahead. So ahead is in the future, okay, and that means book in advance. So you want to go to the restaurant at 9 o'clock, it's necessary to book at maybe 4 o'clock, 3 o'clock, book ahead. Okay, the same at look ahead. You want to look ahead to the future. Good preposition, movement. Okay, dinner at Clanbrassil House. So the location at, I meet you at the restaurant, I meet you at the cafe. So at is specific location, at. Okay, also with time, we say at 6 o'clock, at 7 o'clock, because it's specific time, the location of the time. Okay, a new approach, very important verb. Yesterday we spoke about approach. For example, in the aeroplane is approaching the airport. It's like to come to get close to. That's your approach. But it's like mentality. What is your approach to mathematics? What is your approach to the problem? So here is the problem, and your mentality, your attitude, that's your approach. Okay, so important. And in relation to the restaurant and the food, the chef brings a new idea, a new mentality. Also, the word here, chef, is important because some people confuse this a lot. The chef and the cook are possible in English. They're the two words that are very possible, the chef and the cook. The mistake or the error is the cooker. Okay, it's not so common. Maybe it's logical, but it's not correct really. So we say cook is the person and also the verb, and a chef is the person in the restaurant that makes the food. Okay, and also with approach we typically have the preposition to. What is your approach to the problem? What is your approach to the situation? Okay, good. Also dishes. This is a very interesting problem from Spanish to English, because in Español decir platos, okay, and platos in English is como plates, but in English it's more typical a dish. I have prepared this dish, I have prepared this meal. This dish is more typical in English. Yes, plate is understandable as a meal, but generally in English a plate is just the object. Okay, so the difference between plate and dish, it's not so strict, but more typical is a dish in relation to a meal. Okay, and in Spanish you say plato. Just interesting. Mussel, so that's specific vocabulary. It's the type of food from the sea. It's a mussel. You need to be clear with the difference between the food and for the body. You have a lot of mussels, but the food from the sea is the mussel. Okay, so I will put here, just for the pronunciation, a mussel is from the sea, but for a person you have a muscle. And the pronunciation is very, very similar, practically the same, and the C is silent. So we do not pronounce the C in this case. Phonetics, we eliminate the C for pronunciation, just muscle. So it's practically the same. Also here, this website is very, very good. So I'm going to translate into all these languages. You can see the 6 or 7 or the 9 or 10 languages. So I put the word here so you can see muscle. And in the translation in French, moulet, German, Hindu, Hungarian, Italian, Japanese, Korean, Polish, Portuguese, Romanian, Spanish, Thai and Vietnamese. There's no Indonesian on that website, but apart from that, it's a very good translation. Okay, so, and just to help the people from Indonesia, I'm going to put it here. Muscle is EL. Muscle is remis. Okay, and also the difference between muscle, otto. Good. So that's important to have the translation. And from is the preposition. I am from Dublin. You are from Italy. You are from Spain. So the difference between of and from is very, very important in English. So your location. I am from Ireland. I am from Italy. So from is usually movement. So sometimes the difference between of and from is confusing. So just be careful in the future between of and from. The next verb is very, very interesting and very important. The substantivo is a bath. Okay, a bath. So for the baby, for the child, for the adult, you have two possibilities. Well, you have three possibilities. First possibility is a shower, to wash a shower. The second possibility is a bath. And the third possibility is nothing. You don't wash. That's of course a possibility. But the shower is the first and the bath is the second in the substantivo. But the verb is very, very similar, but the pronunciation is different. The verb is to bathe. Okay? Yesterday we spoke about breathe and breath, respirar. And today it's the noun a bath and the verb to bathe. That's a little confusing, but I want to explain it clear and I want to write it. So the verb is to bathe, bañarse in Espanol. When you are in the bath, is the substantive, is the tubo. And yesterday, a breath is when you that action respiration. So the verb in English is to breathe, respirar, and the substantivo is a breath. Okay, so the verb in English is breathe and also bathe, and the substantive is a bath and a breath. Very, very, very good difference with the pronunciation, and that's a very important issue, a very important topic. Okay, again with the sun, you can sunbathe. That's the most typical, it's most famous to sunbathe. It's possible when you stay tomar el sol, to sunbathe. That's extremely typical. And also if people give you compliments, if people praise you a lot, they give you a lot of compliments, you can bathe in the praise or bathe in the compliment. So it's metaphorical for when people give you compliments, people give you praise. That's a difficult word. Praise. You can bathe in your praise. Bathe in the praise. Okay, just a little example. Okay, good. So we continue. So that's bathe, and here in relation to the food, bathe, so it's a silent ed. In the past it's practically the same. Bathe and bathe, it's very, very similar. It's practically the same. It's a silent ed. In is the typical preposition with bathe in the water, bathe in the bath. Broth. Okay, so the broth is like when you're cooking, it's the top material of the food when you're cooking. Similar to espuma a little, but it's espeso in Espanol, the broth. And the translation here, so you're clear. I'll just move to the other dictionary because it was very good. And maybe it's similar in other languages, I'm not sure. And again, it's very specific for vocabulary. And here it is here, broth, bouillon. Okay, so you can see. Caldo, yes, in Spanish it's caldo. And then finally, just in Indonesian, caldo. Very similar, very interesting. Okay. Trout is a type of fish as well. A trout is a specific type of fish. A layer is very important in Spanish. It's a capa, like the onion. So imagine the onion. The onion has a lot of layers. Okay, a person physically can have a lot of layers. So today I have 2 layers. I have a shirt and a jacket. That's 2 layers. But when it's cold, I need more layers. Okay, I need a jacket, I need a scarf. That's layers. Okay, and it's possible emotional as well. The person has a lot of layers, like a cover or a face, emotionally, like a metaphor for that sense. Okay. Onto is just a preposition, so on and to together, it's just movement and more clear. So on is surface, on the table, on the wall, and to is the movement, but together it's possible onto. The same with into, it's possible in and to, movement. Okay. Char is very, very difficult. It's similar to burn, and if you char something, you burn something. It's more advanced, it's more proficient, and it's very similar to burn. Think of charcoal. In English we have charcoal, and that's the vocabulary for the object you put in the fire. The black object is coal, and charcoal is another vocabulary for that. It's very, very difficult vocabulary. The next word is also very difficult, but we have two parts. We have sour and dough. Okay, so originally there's two parts, sour and dough. Dough is the material for the pizza. When you make the pizza, you have the dough. Maybe mesa in Espanol, it's the dough. Informal, it's very common for money. So in conversation, in movies, in series, with friends, to make dough is an expression to make money. Probably very informal, okay, to make dough, to make money. And the first expression is very sour. It's like the taste. Amalgre in Espanol, okay. Dulce amalgro. So basically, if the food is very sour, it's like bitter. Sour and bitter is a very good vocabulary. And here I will write sour and bitter. But basically, for a person, it's possible the person is very sour, and it's possible the food is very sour. So if the person is very sour, they have a bad attitude, they feel negative about the previous action or the previous incident, they feel very sour or very bitter. Okay, so it's like angry, a little like angry or not happy about the past. But here it's very specific type of food together. With pickled cabbage, again, specific vocabulary. Cabbage is a vegetable, and pickled is another type of vegetable as well. So very, very specific. Don't worry today too much about that. In is typical for the year. So normally for the day, we say on Monday, on Tuesday, on Wednesday. The morning, we say in the morning. Afternoon, in the afternoon, in the evening. The week, we don't really have the preposition, but for the month, we say in January, in February, in March, and for the year we say in 2001, in 2002, in 2021. And here's an example of the year, in 2018. Okay, here again we have another example of plates and dishes, so you can see it's a synonym. So in English, yes, it is possible the two, and they practically have the same significance, but just be careful that probably dishes are more typical, in my opinion, for food. But people will disagree with me, and people will have their own opinion, and it depends on the place. So plates and dishes. Okay, in is for the city, in Dublin, in Jakarta, in Madrid, in Bucharest, in. Okay, so it's in for the location of the city. Okay, again, in-house is again the preposition, the house, and it's in-house, but it is a little expression to keep the problems in-house. If your family or your friends, you have a problem in the accommodation, a disagreement, you keep or maintain the problem in-house. Okay, so you keep it in-house. Here, the food is produced in-house. It's produced from home. Okay, and it's made from. That's a typical preposition associated with made. Made from. Hecho de in Espanol. Made from. Pork cheek. So this vocabulary is more general, and this is very good. So a cheek is this part of the body. The face, this part is the cheek, and in Espanol es posible parecer tienes muchas cara, and in English you have a lot of cheek, and that's the same expression. It's like bad attitude or very strong behavior. You have a lot of cheek. Okay, so the adjective is very typical in English, a cheeky person or a cheeky boy, a cheeky girl, and it's like bad behavior, but not really strong. So it's like almost funny, almost entertaining. It's a cheeky boy, it's surprising, but it's a little bad, but it's not extremely bad. Okay, so a cheeky person is the adjective, and the expression is you have a cheek. Es como tienes muchas cara in español. You're very brave, valiente. Okay, maybe in a negative sense. So very common in conversation. It's possible to say we are cheek to cheek. That's another typical expression. We are cheek to cheek. That means in the metro you have no space. Everybody is in the tight location. So we are cheek to cheek. And that is possible for sure, just in different situations. We are cheek to cheek. Okay. And the next one, hash brown. Okay, so it's very specific vocabulary. In the restaurant, the potato, the fried potato, and it has a coat, a layer, is the hash brown. So it's a typical food for breakfast. We have another expression in English, to make a hash out of it, which is a little informal, but it means to make a mess. So to make a hash of it means to make a mess, or to really mess up. You know the phrasal verb to mess up is to do a bad action or to destroy something. So that is quite typical in conversation. In Ireland, or probably in other parts, to make a hash of it is to make a mistake. Also, hashtag is similar as well. For Twitter, we have the hashtag. I cannot see the connection, but it's an important word. And it's another word for marijuana as well. I think hash is another informal word for marijuana in English as well. That's the extra use also. Okay. Here we have fries. So this is the classic difference between fries and chips. In Ireland, we say chips for example, burger and chips. But in America, the United States, chips for us are like crisps. This is very confusing, but the difference between chips, fries and crisps, this is very important. So in Ireland, it's very famous, fish and chips. You go to the restaurant and you ask for fish and chips. The chips, like patatas fritas, okay? That's the significance of chips in Ireland. But in the United States, chips are in a packet, they're cold, and they're very thin, the chips, okay, to eat, so they're a little bit different. In America, the fries is the burger and fries, fish and fries. That's the equivalent for burger and chips, okay? So just be careful with the difference between that. Also, the verb to chip is very important, because imagine the potato and you chip the potato. So chip is this action. You have the potato and you chip, okay? You have the wood and you chip the wood. And the nickname for a carpenter is the person who works with wood, and the nickname for the person who works with wood is a chippy. Okay, so a chippy is a nickname for a carpenter. So important vocabulary. Probably informal, a chippy. Okay, so also with your teeth, my front tooth, I chip my tooth. So it's like a little chip. And there is an expression, you have a chip on your shoulder. That means you have a negative attitude, or you have a big problem as well. So to have a chip, like to be bitter or to be sour. You remember before, to be sour or to be bitter, to have a chip on your shoulder. It's the significance of to have a bad attitude, to have maybe from something that happened in the past. Okay? And here, in poker, the final example is in poker. When you play poker, you have the chips, because it's the same concept. You have the big quantity of money, but you have the small chips. It's the same action. And in football, it's the same. You have the ball and you chip the ball. Chip. Okay, so it is important, and it's very frequent, very flexible, and very common. Okay, send out, the verb to send, and the preposition send out is like just more emphasis. So it's here and you send out. In is the opposite, send out, more direction, more expression. Okay, starters, mains and desserts. So this is classic in the restaurant in English. When you enter the restaurant, you ask for a starters, and the starters is usually small, soup, salad, something small is the starters. I think in Spanish you have a different structure, but in English, starters, mains and dessert. So first plate, second plate, third plate. The mains, it's possible mains or main course. Okay, main course, first course, third course, 3-course meal. It's possible 4-course, it's possible 5-course. Okay, but usually it's starters, mains and dessert for English. Okay, and the dessert is after. You need to be clear the difference between dessert and desert. So this is a very interesting example. So a substantivo in this case and a substantivo here, and basically in Spanish here is the postre, like chocolate, profiteroles, ice cream, that's the dessert pronunciation, dessert, and desert is the second pronunciation, like the Sahara. In Africa, in mid-Africa, you have sub-Sahara, which is the desert. Okay, so very important, and it is a verb as well, to desert, and that means to abandon. So if you desert your friends, you abandon your friends, and it is common in conversation, and it's possible. Okay, very good and very important. It's a fun way, manera in Espanol. So there's two possibilities in English. A way is the road. This is my road, this is my way. You're on your way, okay? And the second possibility is like a method or a technique. This is my way to improve English. This is my way to help. It's my technique, it's my method. So method and journey, way. And in this case, it's method. It's a fun method, a fun way to snack. Very important vocabulary, to have a little food. So before your dinner, you have a little snack, something small, okay? And around is the preposition, the tempting menu. So the menu is principal and you're snacking around the menu. Okay, and the menu is obviously the list on the paper. This word is very important, tempting. It's from temptation. So the verb is to tempt, and it's quite good vocabulary for sure. And the substantive is the temptation. And for example, the question, can I tempt you to a coffee? Can I tempt you to some chocolate? It's a very informal way to say, do you want a chocolate? Do you want a coffee? Can I tempt you to the chocolate? Okay, so it is frequent and it is common and it's very important to tempt. And the dinner runs around 120. So here the verb to run is like athletics, corre in Espanol, to run. But it's also flexible in English. It's possible for a company. You can run a company, you can run the business, and it means to manage or to control the business. You run the business, you run the company. Okay? Remember Beyonce, her song, Who Runs the World? You can run the world. So it's to control the word, it's to manage. And here it's a little different. The dinner runs around. It's a little flexible and creative. It's not typical in this example, but it's just a little creative English, okay? And around is approximately. Yes, it's a preposition around, but we use around for approximately. I meet you at around 6 o'clock. So not exactly 6 o'clock. It's possible 5 to 6, 10 past 6, approximately. The price is around €5, so approximately in relation to price and time. Okay? Very good. So that's just a little example for today for the analysis of the vocabulary. So tomorrow I will continue with another paragraph, and every day we will try to analyze. I hope it was clear. I hope you can understand it. Let me check Skype. Okay, so nobody has contacted me yet. So remember, if you want to practice some speaking, maybe today or tomorrow, you can contact me on Skype, and my name is here, Admiliora. I think you can see, yes, Admiliora1. Okay, so if you want today for 5 minutes, we can speak at the end just to practice the test. But now I want to move to the idioms and the phrasal verbs. Okay, so this list is a list of idioms. You remember the introduction, like expressions or phrases hechas in Espanol. And in English we have lots and many expressions and idioms. And this is a list, and every day we continue a little with the list. Also, I have another list of phrasal verbs. Okay, so the verb and the preposition. Very, very difficult, but we will continue a little. And yesterday we stopped with do without. You remember my example with chocolate. So the verb to do is usually make or do, but in this case to do without has the significance of to live without or to survive without. And my example yesterday was chocolate. We had no chocolate in the house, so I had to do without chocolate. I had to survive the day without chocolate. I had to do without chocolate for the day. So that's a difficult explanation. It's a perfect example of the difficulty of the phrasal verb. Okay, do, without, together has the significance of to survive or to live without. Okay. The next example is draw up. Draw is typical for a picture. Draw a picture, but draw up means to create. Okay, so you draw a plan, you create a plan, but up usually has the significance of create, and down usually has the significance of destroy. So you draw up a plan, you draw up a proposal, means to create or to make a plan or to make a proposal. Okay. Also with draw, yes, it's like a picture, but there's a second significance to extract and attract. So remember, if the infection, you have an infection in your hand and you draw out the infection, extract the infection. Okay. In the house, the table has a drawer. That's the name of the cajón in Espanol, the drawer. So it's extract. Also attention, like attract. You walk on the street with a yellow hat and everybody looks at your hat. You draw attention to your hat. So you attract attention. And in the concert, Beyonce again comes to Dublin, to the stadium, and she draws a crowd. She draws the people to attract. Here it's just like dibujar in Espanol, to draw a picture, to create. Dress down, we have two significances with dress. Okay, so with three significance. In Spanish, the dress is the falda. When you go to the party, you have a dress for the woman or the man. That's the dress. And the expression is to dress down, which means, when you, in the morning, you get dressed or you dress yourself. That's the verb. So to dress yourself is to put the clothes on yourself. Okay, so it is a verb. I'll put here two possibilities: to dress and to get dressed. Verb and to get dressed. They're the two possibilities in the morning. But the expression with dress down, the second example, is more casual. You go to the party and you dress down. That means maybe jeans, a t-shirt, something casual, something relaxed. That's the significance of to dress down. Okay. The opposite, to dress up, is usually fancy, usually formal, usually very serious. For the man, it's maybe the tie, and for the lady, it's an elegant maybe dress or something. So that's the significance of dress down. It's the opposite, something casual. But here, the first significance is like to reprimand. In the army, for the punishment, castigation, the leader dresses down the person, and that means they tell the person the bad behavior. Okay, so it's a bit flexible, and you can see the example. The mother dressed her son down for skipping school. The verb to skip is to jump. On YouTube, on the video, you skip the advertisement, you jump. And to skip school is to miss school or to jump school. Okay, and the line in the party, or the line for the restaurant, you're in the queue and you skip the queue. So you change your position, you in a bad way, you jump. Okay, so a little bit flexible. Again, dress up has two significances. The second significance is at the party, formal clothes, to dress up, and also it's the same significance really, to decorate. So the first example, you could dress this house up with some bright colours. Basically it's the same significance for the person, because you dress yourself up, you decorate yourself with the clothes. So for me, it's the same. Also the problem, if I have to communicate the problem to my manager, communicate the problem to my friend, I want two options: explain the problem clearly and very honestly, or the second option is to explain the problem more colourful, more positive. So I dress up the problem. Okay, so I decorate the problem, so it's flexible a little, so just be careful. Okay, drive back is interesting, not so common, but drive is typical with the car. You drive the car, but again in the military or the army, one army drive the other army back, so it's literal, like move or push back. So it's not so common, but it's just in the list. Okay, drop, you have the pen and you drop the pen. Gotear in Espanol, drop the pen. Drop in is very typical to visit. So you're in the car on the road and this is the house of your friend and you drop in. So you visit very quickly, or you make a little visit to drop in. And here's the example. Meg, dropped is the past, dropped in yesterday after dinner. So she visited almost unexpectedly, a quick visit, okay? It's possible to pop in as well. She popped in and she dropped in. She popped in and she dropped in is to visit very quickly, okay? Very interesting, but very typical in conversation, informal conversation with friends, very normal, family, movies. This is the type of vocabulary that's very, very common, okay? Again, the same with on, it's just for the substantivo. Drop in on with substantivo, my friend. Drop out is very common and very important. So the marathon, the race, you're in the marathon, but if you drop out of the marathon, drop out of the race, you quit or you leave the race. Same with university or school. You are in university, you are in school, but if you drop out, you quit or you leave school before you should finish, okay? And very, very common to quit, to leave, to drop out, okay? And Kanye West had the album High School Dropout. So it's the person who left school before they were planned to finish, okay? And there's the example. Yuri is not on, so the preposition for team is on the team anymore. Bit difficult. So Yuri's not on the team anymore. He dropped out. Okay, good. So that's an example of phrasal verbs. Just a couple today, 2 or 3 to explain. And now I want to show you a few examples of the list from the idioms, okay? So yesterday we finished with eye catching. So the verb to catch is typical. The ball, catch the ball. The baby, catch the baby if the baby falls. But to catch your eye is like to catch your attention. So you're walking on the street and something catches your attention. So the adjective is eye-catching. So my hat is very eye-catching. That's the adjective, okay? And that was the idiom or the expression yesterday. The verb to fall in Espanol is caer, so you fall. But in relation to love, it's very typical to say fall in love. And that's the expression. It's emotional. You fall in love, okay? And I think most people know that. That's the participle. So it's irregular. Fall, fell, fallen. Fall, fell, fallen. That's the structure. Third participle, third column is fallen. A far cry from. So this is common. Yes, very, very common. Maybe a little difficult to explain. Far in Espanol is lejos, the distance. You're very close, you're very near, but you're very far. A cry is when you cry, but it's also a shout or a gritar in Espanol. So or a call or a shout. So if I cry for help, I shout, help, help. That's to shout or to cry for help. And this expression is a far cry from. So this year, the pandemic has changed everything. The situation is completely different. The city is completely different. This situation is a far cry from last year. Basically, it means it's completely different to last year. That's the significance of a far cry from. A little bit difficult literally to explain, but that's the significance, okay? Feeling blue is very typical. You're feeling happy, you're feeling good, you're feeling bad, but blue is maybe sad or depressed. You're feeling blue, you're feeling sad, you're feeling down, you're feeling low, feeling blue. You have the blues means you're very, very sad, okay? We say that as well, to have the blues. Monday blues is possible as well, like the sad situation on Monday. Everybody feels a little sad because the weekend is finished. And under the weather is very famous as well. You feel under the weather. So obviously the weather is the sun, the rain. But if you feel under the weather, you feel very sad or very sick. You don't feel perfect. Not very, very sick, just a little sick. Okay, so you feel under the weather. You're not perfect. Very common expression. Very normal. Very, very frequent. Feel under the weather. Fever pitch. So fever is like febre in Espanol. You have a fever. But pitch is flexible. In football, we have the football pitch, like the campo. That's the pitch. But for your voice, you have the pitch of your voice is the top of your voice. In baseball, you pitch the ball. It's like throw the ball. With the business, if you pitch your idea, you sell your idea. So it's like to throw. So to pitch an idea is to sell an idea. Same as baseball, to throw. Okay? But fever pitch really means that it's the maximum moment. So the football, the match is in the last moment, the last minute, and everybody is excited. Very high the pitch. So everybody's excited, everybody's motivated. That moment is fever pitch. It's a common expression and probably you understand as well. Fill, the verb to fill, if you have the bottle and you fill the bottle, llenar in Espanol, You fill the bottle, you put the liquid in the bottle to fill. The form in the application, you fill in the form, okay? And the blank is the empty space. But this expression is a metaphor for conversation, for friends. So I explain a story to my friend, but I do not explain everything. So there is a blank in my story, and my friend, it's necessary to fill the blanks, basically to use his or her imagination. It's logical and it's not too difficult, but I think you understand it more or less. First in, best dressed is a possible expression, and basically it means the first person to arrive has the best perception, the best perception, I suppose. The translation here is being the first one to make a start at something. Yeah, it just really means that you get complimented. Maybe it's a compliment to arrive first or to be the first person. Not too common. First out of the gate is very informal as well, but it's possible. Basically, again, it means you're the first person. The gate is something that stops people, and if you're first out of the gate, you're the first person. No real context. Maybe originally for the horse. The races for the horse, you have the gates protecting the horses, and ready, steady, go. He's the first out of the gate. Also for athletics, we say the block. So the athletics, the athletes, the sprinters are on the block, and it's definitely possible to say first out of the blocks. That's common as well. Out of the blocks, first person. It's possible, okay? The next one is more general and more comfortable. So if you are a fish out of water, obviously literal, the fish out of water cannot survive, has a lot of difficulty. So the metaphor is in your situation. If you start a new job and the job is extremely difficult, you do not know what to do, you are a fish out of water. You're very uncomfortable, okay? We have another expression. We say to be a small fish in a big pond. Excuse my typing, sorry. So to be a small fish in a big pond basically means that you're almost insignificant in the situation, okay? Because originally the fish is in a small bowl, and then the fish enters the big pond or the big water, and they're almost insignificant. That's a very common and very famous expression, okay? Also, the next one is very, very common. So your foot in the door. So remember, foot, pied in Espanol, 1 foot, but plural is irregular, 2 feet. 1 foot, 2 feet. But if you have your foot in the door of a company, it means you have a start in the company, okay? So imagine the door for the company is closed, no opportunity, but the door is open and you have your foot in the door, you have a little opportunity to progress. Okay, so to have your foot in the door is very typical and very common. The next two are also very typical. So for the time being, it's from the verb to be. For the time being has the significance for now. Okay, so because of the pandemic, because everybody is at home, because people lost their jobs, I hopefully can help with the English. So I can help for the time being, okay, until this situation, for now, okay? That's common, very fluent, very typical in conversation. For now, for the time being. Are you happy? Yes, for the time being, for now, okay? From now on is very important as well. So remember, go on means to continue. Go on, continue. So from now on means from now continued, okay? So the situation will improve from now on. Very simple, but very important as well, okay? So from now on, from now continued. From time to time, that's typical in other languages, occasionally. So I go to the cinema from time to time. Not all the time, never, not never, but frequently, occasionally, okay? From time to time. So that's an example of idioms. So we continue every day with a list of idioms, and that's an example of phrasal verbs. We continue every day with phrasal verbs as well. Okay, so that is everything, and a good class again. So very similar structure, and yeah, so well done. So we continue with the same concept today, tomorrow. Introduction, analysis of an article, analysis of vocabulary, grammar, and then maybe analysis of phrasal verbs and idioms. Thank you very much. If you have any comments or questions, hopefully you can write them and tell me. Have a great day. Again, everything is free. That's my social media connection if you want. I'm happy to teach at the moment for free. If you want to make a little contribution or a donation, it's possible by PayPal. Of course, if you cannot, absolutely no problem. I'm very, very happy to teach for free. And that's a possibility with your phone, with PayPal as well. I think it's a €1 or €2 if you want. But it's not necessary. It's only an option. So thank you so much. We have nobody from Skype to contact me, so nobody wants to speak. But maybe in the future, if you want to speak during the class, you can call me on Skype and we can have a practice speaking session with everybody, and I can correct some of your writing or your speaking. Okay? So thank you so much. Have a great day, and talk to you soon. Bye bye.